I'm going to analyze two of gaming's greatest protagonists, Jin Sakai and Arthur Morgan. On the outside, they appear to be complete opposites, but I'm going to dive into these two, prove just how similar they are, and convince you why they should be at the top of every list of best characters of all time. Just a heads up, I will be spoiling a lot of events for both Ghost of Tsushima and Red Dead 2. I'm not going to get into Ghost of Yotei as it's still new at the time of recording, so if you haven't played Yotei yet, don't worry, you're still safe. And without further ado, let's head back into the video. Jin and Arthur's arcs, while pointed in opposite directions, depict the same concept of abandoning the beliefs they've held their whole lives, even if it costs them everything they've lived for to this point. Both of their stories end in a bittersweet manner, losing almost everything, but gaining something invaluable. Now, it's no secret that Jin and Arthur are two extremely honor-driven characters. Where they differ is the side that they start and end on, but the symmetry remains. Jin lives an honorable life up until the start of the game, and he gradually must come to terms with the ideology of abandoning his morals and honor in order to protect what's important to him. Arthur, on the other hand, appears to be an evil outlaw, but as his arc moves along, he becomes more honorable and compassionate to everybody around him. The event that causes each of them to change how they live their lives is even similar. There's more to being a good person than honor, and there's more to being an outlaw than evil. Both of these characters must come to terms with their own mortality, sparking their enlightenments and setting them on their new paths. Jin's trigger moment is watching all of his fellow men die on Komoda Beach, and for Arthur, it's the timer he's put on after his diagnosis. This redefinition of who they are as people allows us to watch and learn with them throughout their journeys. For Jin, he starts the game off as a broken samurai. He's full of shame after the slaughter on the beach, and along with this shame is an unwavering dedication to get his uncle back from the Khan. He tries to confront the Khan head-on, storming the castle and demanding a duel. This goes about as well as you'd expect a one-man infiltration of a literal fortress to go. And it's this failure and a gentle push from Yuna that causes Jin to realize that breaking the samurai code is the only path forward for Tsushima. He uses barbaric tactics in the eyes of the samurai, slaughtering Mongols from behind, intimidating his enemies, and eventually he uses poison to secure victory in the second act. Jin undoubtedly has the best interest for the island at mind here, and he wants to save his uncle, who's the Jito for Tsushima. He's the only one capable of rallying forces strong enough to contest the Khan's army, and while Jin does save his uncle, Lord Shimura makes it very clear that Jin must not stay on this path as it will lead him astray.
You have no honor, and you are a slave to it.
Jin realizes that the samurai code is flawed and that the Khan is capable of predicting how they will act. The only way to prevent more deaths here is to behave in an unpredictable manner, using the tactics that Jin did up until this point. This drives the wedge between him and his uncle deeper until eventually there's just no saving their relationship.
You mean you're real sick? It's a progressive disease, and you'll be... Now, the best thing is rest.
In Arthur's case, his evolution starts when he's diagnosed with tuberculosis. Upon realizing his days are numbered, Arthur's entire worldview is challenged. Up until this point in his life, he's been an unkillable machine that's enacted the will of the Vanderland gang. Arthur's the muscle, and he clearly never thought he might die so soon. It's this reality check that really makes Arthur reflect on the life he's lived so far, and he realizes that he's been cruel, to put it lightly, and from just what we're shown, we see that he's willing to beat sick people to send a message to not owe the gang money, and he won't hesitate to off some people if it benefits his family. Arthur comes to realize the kind of man he's been, and he attempts to make amends with the time he has left, even if it separates him from those he calls family. He wants to protect those he views as capable of saving, and his acts of generosity and growing disdain for unnecessary bloodshed weighs on Arthur's relationships with characters like Dutch and Micah especially, pushing their bonds until they're unsalvageable. Jin and Arthur both push against the grain of what they've been taught all their lives, whether it's to save lives or follow their own moral compass. This causes both characters to lose everything, but it's this loss that proves their devotion to their respective causes. Jin throws away his honor he's held onto, and Arthur finds it again after many, many years. Hey everyone, I hope you liked the video so far because I had a lot of fun making it. If you're enjoying, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel out a lot and it lets me know that you like this kind of content. With that out of the way, let's get back to the video. At the end of his game, Jin is left with nothing. He loses his clan, his samurai status, his father figure in Lord Shimura, and as a result, his chance of becoming Jito of Tsushima Island. All of this he sacrifices to protect his home from the Mongol invaders. Arthur similarly loses everything he worked his whole life for, his gang, his money, and his father figure too. In return, he saves the lives of those he cares about, notably John Marston and his family, and Sadie Adler. It's the conclusion of their journeys that really drives home just how much these protagonists care for what they're fighting for. All Jin desires is to drive out the Mongol invaders and do so without losing his comrades. He accepts the moniker of Ghost, as he, along with his honor, died on the beach. Jin achieves his goal, killing the Khan and freeing Tsushima Island of the Mongolian threat. And even after losing all he's had, he seems content or even happy that the cost of this island's freedom was only his life. Arthur has a similar conclusion to his story, as he, in a final act of self-sacrifice, holds off the pursuing remnants of the Vanderling gang, all to assure John and his family's safety. Arthur knows he's dying at this point, and even if he made it out of this situation alive, it would be a matter of weeks at most before he'd succumb to his tuberculosis. He knows he'll never get to live a life outside of a criminal one, but he hopes he can give John the opportunity that he never had. That's enough for Arthur to lay down his life for the Marston family and give them his blessing to leave the gang behind once and for all. Jin and Arthur both fought for something larger than themselves, and they each paid for it with their lives. It was at this moment that I really felt like I could relate to these characters most. Neither one of them gets the happy ending, all of their actions have consequences, and there's no running away from that. The amazing thing about these characters is that they've known that their deeds would catch up to them, and they accept that with open arms. Although there are plenty of other games where the good guy loses or has to sacrifice himself for the greater good, none of them do it like Ghost of Tsushima and Red Dead. The connection you form to these characters, given how ostracized they are by the people they considered family in their games, is just unmatched by any other piece of media. This feeling really resonates with gamers who may feel alone, and they push the message that just because you've been taught something to believe your whole life, that doesn't mean it's correct. These deep, thought-provoking messages are what inspired me to make this video, because no other game does it like these two.